fans, in this video we're going to take a look back to 1988. My family and I, my parents and I, went on a trip from Cincinnati all the way to San Diego taking Amtrak. We took the Cardinal out of Cincinnati, hooked up to the Southwest Chief when we got to Chicago, and took that out all the way to LA. From LA to San Diego and back, we took two different San Diegans, and then we brought the Desert Wind back into Chicago. So I'm going to break this video up into two parts. This first one that you'll see is just the Southwest Chief portion of the trip, which was by far our favorite. Had a great attendant named Ralph that worked with us in our car. Made the trip a tremendous amount of fun, beautiful scenery. Was much better than the trip back on the Desert Wind, but we'll save that for the next video. Hope you guys really enjoy this. Really a huge shout out to Dad for making this trip happen. He worked hard to make sure that we could enjoy this and have a good time. It's probably my favorite trip as a child. I know Mom really enjoyed it, and so definitely probably one of the best things we ever did together as a family. So hope you guys enjoy this video, and we'll get the next part, the Desert Wind, up here in the next couple of weeks. All right, rail fans, we've just left Chicago. We're about 20 minutes outside of Union Station. We're currently on the Southwest Chief, headed for Los Angeles. Right now we're coming up on the Chicago Sanitary and Shipping Canal. Briefly at the beginning of this video you could see the lead locomotives and the cars ahead of us on the Southwest Chief. This entire train, other than the baggage cars, is a full superliner consist, so double deck cars all the way, several sleeping cars, coach cars, dining car, lounge car, and a dome car. Here we come up on a little intermodal terminal to the west of Chicago. And we're now in Joliet, Illinois, which is about 38 miles outside Chicago. Would have been the first stop, 52 minutes away. And the video next jumps to Garden City, Kansas. So Garden City is about 854 miles into the trip. This would have been the next morning at about 7:45 a.m. I'll assume that we had our meal shortly after the stop in Joliet, and then it was probably too dark to film after that, and so this resumes the next morning. So one of the things I'm going to try to do here from time to time as we take this journey is hand it over to Dad and let Dad explain to you exactly what it is we're seeing in real time, and also allow you guys to get a little bit of the sounds of what it was like to be on an Amtrak Superliner back in 1988. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dad.
The sun is finally starting to come up here in Kansas. It's very flat. See forever. Major stockyards out here. And it is full.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amtrak number 3, Southwest Chief, will be arriving in Lamar, Colorado, approximately 3 minutes.
As you just heard, we're headed into Lamar, Colorado, about 954 miles into the journey. I'll throw it to 12-year-old me to tell you a little bit about it.
Lamar. This is the goose hunting capital of the nation. At the west end of the station on your right, note the Madonna of the Trail statue, one of the many erected by the Daughters of the American Revolution to commemorate the national old trails.
And at this point, we're now in Colorado. Pretty flat, not exactly what we expected, but we will get into the mountain regions in a bit. The dam you see there in the distance is for the John Martin Reservoir that holds water back for Kansas and Colorado. The train loops around and you get to see the reservoir, and then you cross over a very thin strip with water on both sides of the train. It's pretty interesting. From my memory, I can't remember if the train runs across that dam or if this is a different strip, but it's pretty interesting how you get to cross over. We were able to go out into the hallway of the train car and look out the window, and there's definitely water on both sides of the train. A little alarming feeling that you can't see any ground below you at certain points, and you're not exactly sure what kind of structure is holding the train up. And here we are, stopped at La Junta, Colorado. The timetable doesn't show a time for actually stopping. It just shows as a quick stop, but this was a place where they would add another locomotive onto the train to help it through the mountains and across some of the passes that we're going to be coming up to. Dad stepped off the train for these few minutes and took some video. We believe this window was the sleeping room that we were in. You can see there's a little platform here. They would add some supplies to the train and get that extra locomotive hooked up. Here in a second, you're going to see a man named Ralph, who was the attendant on our sleeping car, and he left quite an impression on me. I've never forgotten Ralph. He was very fun. So as a 12-year-old, obviously spending 2-3 days in a train would seem like it would get a little bit boring. I had a blast. This trip on the Southwest Chief was an incredible amount of fun. Ralph definitely made it interesting. There would be trivia games on a daily basis on the train. Ralph would help me with some of the answers. And here in a little bit, as we go through parts of New Mexico and Arizona, you're going to see that Ralph allowed us to go down at the bottom level of the car, and we were able to grab some pretty amazing footage from the train as it weaved through some of the hills and mountains and canyons. It's amazing footage. And here we are coming into Trinidad, Colorado. You can see the sign on the top of that cliff spells out the word Trinidad. It's kind of tough to see in this video with the quality from the 80s. Evidently, from listening back to the audio that was on the original clip, the cliff there was named after a pioneer that formed the town, and then they decided to put the name up there in honor of the town. Another funny thing I heard while listening back to the original audio, they were making the announcement about stopping at Trinidad, and the person on the radio thanked everyone for flying Amtrak on this trip, which was pretty funny. And here we are continuing into Trinidad. You can see the Dad has moved the camera to look out the other side of the train, so you can see a little bit of our room, and then that's out into the hallway and out the window. Trinidad was the first town I think that we really came to that started to remind us, or at least what was in our minds, looked like the Old West. A lot of old buildings, the giant rock formations off in the distance. You could just kind of picture some old cowboys running through this area. Here we've got the Colorado River. The train has stopped to let passengers on and off. They've got a couple bridges here, and then they've got a really beautiful mural kind of painted down on a wall by the river. Again, just some captivating scenery. Really the beginnings of what we would see for most of the remainder of this trip until we emerged in California. And so now we're coming up into some of the more mountainous regions. We're getting ready to come through the Raton Pass, which is the highest part of the Santa Fe line. Dad took some video out the window of the train snaking ahead of us. We're going to get ready. The next set of scenes is going to be where Ralph lets us go down to the bottom of the Superliner car to the first level and stick the camera out the top hatch of the door, and we're going to get some amazing footage that I'm just going to put up some music to and let you enjoy it. And we're now back up in our room on the second level of the Superliner car. Currently going through the Santa Fe National Forest. Lots of beautiful trees, lots of scenery, and lots of look downs into little rivers and creeks. Gonna see some bridges coming up here that are pretty interesting. Clearly some older structures. Just lots of amazing colors and scenery. I'll never forget, you know, the orangey brown, you know, the canyons, the water cuts. Just simply amazing things that you're seeing as you travel through New Mexico on the train that you never get to see from a car or an airplane. Here we come up on a little village. Not sure what the name of this is. There's a large mission up on the hill here. Going to see some old Santa Fe freight cars that we pass. Kind of cool and interesting, you know, to see the mission sitting above that. And then you're going to see again 12-year-old me in a reflection in the window as we get ready to pass into a storm cloud.
We're getting towards Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the landscape has kind of changed. It's more barren now. There's very little brush. It's rocky and very sandy.
So that recent scenery you saw was us as we transcended through New Mexico towards Albuquerque. We're now in Albuquerque at the platform, still on the train. Down on the platform, well, there's a lot of regional vendors set up, local vendors selling some local crafts, a lot of Indian jewelry, things like that. There I go, walking away from Dad back towards Ralph to get back onto the Superliner car. For some reason, I remember walking around this platform like it was yesterday. It was just really interesting. Probably after being cooped up on the train for a couple days, it was nice to get off and walk around. But really interesting walking around all the tables, seeing all the crafts, seeing everything that everybody had available for sale. And just the weather was outstanding. You know, for some reason I'll just remember this for the rest of my life. I don't know, it was one of the parts of the trip that really stood out to me, was to be able to get off and walk around for a few minutes. And here we are entering Barstow, California. Now, I'm not exactly sure, can't remember. We must have been running just a little bit late. According to the official timetable from '88 that I have from Amtrak, the Barstow stop should have happened at 4:12 in the morning, so we'd have gone through most of Arizona and the eastern part of California in the middle of the night, but obviously it's clearly very much daylight outside as we go through Barstow here. This will be the last bit of filming that we do on our trip west. We wind up getting on the San Diegan at Los Angeles to go down to San Diego. After this, we start packing up all of our things so that we can be ready to disembark the train when we get to LA. Hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I've enjoyed reliving it, and look forward to the next video. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click on the like button down below. Give us a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.